Welcome back, everybody. Episode 17. I don't know if that's hard to believe for you guys or not. I know I was looking back through it. That's quite a few episodes, and I think we've all come to a consensus that we may have reached stardom. We're starting to get some haters online. So that's a good signal, I would say. But guys, how's everybody doing?
Fantastic. Very good.
Wonderful. Good. I think last week I was going on strike, I believe, is what I was doing. So I'm back.
Luke demanded a bit more money, and we just had to pay up. Obviously, we had to keep our best talent here. So I'm glad we were able to end the dispute. Coleman, how are you doing?
Wonderful. Outside of the little labor dispute that we were in last week with Luke. Other than that, wonderful.
Dude,
Yeah, we might have had it more difficult than the Bengals with Jamar Chase. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I sat out for a while, you know.
Yeah. We were talking about some of the comments we were looking at. We had some interesting TikTok comments, and somebody came after Bo on YouTube too for his Zachary Shashay take, which I guess through a few preseason NBA games, somebody else has come to a different conclusion. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's probably a Frenchman that is a fanboy there. I'm not too worried about that.
Yeah, the Frenchies are always uptight. They get upset about the littlest things, so it's all good. Nothing to lose sleep over, put it that way.
Mm-hmm. It's not like we were going after their crown jewel, Rudy Gobert.
Did you guys see that? Did you see the clip of the reaction of Rudy Gobert hitting a fadeaway and that bench reaction that's been circulating on Twitter? You guys see that?
Mm-mm.
Like the Kings bench, and he does like a fake left shoulder and hits like a fadeaway jumper, and they all just get up, like throw their towels. There's no way we can beat this team.
He shouldn't be able to do that.
I'm with you. I completely agree.
I think Cat was just holding him back. He was taking away from all of his shooting chances.
Stop it. That's unreal. Is he the most hated NBA player?
Cat?
No, not Cat. I don't. Who is the most hated NBA player?
From our podcast, probably Spencer Dinwiddie.
Yep. Coleman, care to comment?
I dropped my phone there. That was my bad. Well, like, you could easily say it's LeBron. I know this podcast loves LeBron, but like, you either love him or you hate him.
That's true.
So LeBron's easily the most hated.
Fair.
2, Kevin Durant.
Fair. James Harden.
Now, this is like big picture NBA.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you like really dive into it, yeah, it could be like Rudy Gobert, like D'Angelo Russell, awful, terrible hate. Like that's like people hate D'Angelo Russell.
Yeah, like sending him to China, hate.
Yeah, I mean Rudy Gobert's up there too. Dinwiddie. People hate Russell Westbrook, but he's like a love-hate.
Luke, you were gone last week, but we also debated who's more hated. Do you think it's Karl Anthony Towns or AJ from the Costco Boys?
Guys, they're men.
Guys, my apologies.
Am I giving like a boom or a doom?
Yeah.
Boom or doom, Cat. Probably. I'm gonna give him a boom, and then AJ a doom. So I'll hit him with his own medicine, I guess.
I love that. I can't argue that. I think that's pretty accurate there. I think that's the episode. We talked about Costco, guys. I think we covered everything.
Thank you, everybody. See you next week.
We're in all the hot button topics for sure.
I will say, embarrassingly, though, I will admit, I've brought up the Costco guys to 3 or 4 different people in the past week and a half since they made their Knicks debut. And all of them said, I don't know who that is. And trying to explain what they do to somebody who has never heard of them, it makes you sound like you are in left field a little bit. You just, they're guys that eat cookies and go boom on TikTok, and they're viral.
Yeah, you need to change your social circle.
True.
And first off, how did you only find out because they were at the Knicks game? You didn't see the world's largest boom at the FAU home game?
Boom!
It was hardly heard around the stadium.
I bet you got the song stuck in your head now.
Yeah. Hey, those stupid jingles they put out, they do work. But we don't want to become the world's number one Costco guys podcast. That's a great way for us to.
We're the only we have the WNBA covered. That's where we need to. That's our lane. And at that we're doing just.
Have we discussed this?
That's the thing. It's like, hey, we got to keep up to our shtick.
Yeah.
Who's in the finals? Minnesota and
the Lynx and the Liberty.
Minnesota and New York. Very good.
I'm so glad you guys could carry.
Yeah. Because Luke and I are looking at each other like.
Now who plays for the Lynx and the Liberty?
Sabrina Ionescu.
Rescue, yeah, I knew that.
Yep.
She's a baller. Yep. Stud. From Oregon.
I haven't quite scouted her. I think we'll probably do a full in-depth basketball breakdown next week where we'll dive into preseason. I don't know. Do we do NBA and college, or do we split them in two? What do you think?
NBA first. NBA starts
first,
next week.
then college.
We could talk hours and hours and hours on the association.
Yeah.
Why limit ourselves?
Any teasers you want to throw out there right now, or anything you want to discuss at all?
Talking pro or at college?
Oh, get up at the times. We were just talking about that.
Well, with a little teaser, I had a college teaser ready, but pros, I'm going to keep the cards close to my chest. So
Zach Edey, he's the guy from Memphis. All that hate from all the Big J journalism, all those guys, they're losers. They don't know what they're talking about.
What do you think about Armando Bacot? We're gonna dive deep into Grizzlies front court depth.
Mm-mm.
They just signed Scottie Pippen Jr. to a multi. I don't want to get into it.
We'll spend an hour on the Memphis Grizzlies, another hour on the other teams in the West, and another hour on the other team in the East.
Yeah, there's like 3 segments.
3 hour long podcast.
And so in.
How long is your mid-major breakdown going to be? That might be 3 weeks. 3 weeks worth of episodes.
We could dive into 3 mid-majors every week.
How great that would be.
Bo, I'm curious. What's the college basketball teaser?
What do you Duke, as I was saying before the podcast, AP poll preseason was ranked 7th, which is way too low. Probably the first time Duke's been underrated coming into the season. I just read they're playing Arizona, Kentucky, and Kansas, I believe, in the first month of their schedule. So they'll be put to the test right away. Very excited for Duke this year. And I think they have a stacked roster. Definitely could win the whole thing.
Do you think they'll win the whole thing with all these freshmen, even though historically speaking, in the last couple of years, freshmen have not done well in the NCAA tournament?
No, I think they'll win it. I think they'll be good. I really do.
How's UCLA looking, Coleman? I know you were hot on them.
We're all in on UCLA. We're all in on Baylor. Made those futures bets in May, so we are locked in.
Yeah, that's basically how some companies, they throw money at hedge funds to invest their money. We just put it on UCLA futures to try to bankroll the entire pod. So it's kind of similar in a way.
Safer investment.
Yeah, when they go down, the pod goes down too.
Yeah, it might be over.
We can afford this software? No, this is leased.
Yeah.
I did have a question for you guys. If there were a mid-major, if there were a mid-major that you had to have season tickets to, what team would you pick and why?
That's hard.
It is hard.
Do you have one, Coleman?
I didn't have an answer to my own question. I have a couple different options that I could think of.
That's a tough question.
St. John's, does that count?
No.
Dang it.
Not a mid-major.
What are we?
What qualifies mid-major?
Like
we can't do Big East. Big East is
like not a Power 5 conference or Memphis.
I was about to say that'd be the first pick would be Memphis.
No, you can't. No Power 5 or no American.
Sorry, Luke. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No.
Where the heck is Patino at right now?
St. John's. What is this? Not a St. John's podcast.
We're circling around St. John's.
Why am I thinking of like Duquesne or something? Why am I thinking
Duquesne has LeBron's old high school coach.
Okay, and
that's
then where?
Fun fact. Can I go into a little tidbit? Met LeBron's old high school coach actually in high school. Had breakfast with him at a tournament. Didn't know who he was. Sat there and we sit next to him. Everybody had like cards. You got to go sit at a different table. And I sat next to him. I'm like, oh, where do you coach? He's like, St. Mary's. I was like, oh, did you coach LeBron? He's like, I did back in the day. I'm like, holy cow.
Yeah,
You're that guy. Wished him good luck on his game. They're playing Simeon out of Chicago. Prime time. Sorry, there's my little fun fact.
Maybe you didn't try to pitch yourself, Bo? You didn't try to get some more years of eligibility?
He was a high school coach when I was still in high school. So maybe if he was in college, it would have been a different story. Yeah. Maybe I'd be in the association right now. Who knows?
Remind me where Will Wade's at?
McNeese.
Sure, I'll go McNeese.
In the Southland. That's a good pick.
Is it bad that instead of McNeese or any of this, I would choose one of those great high schools like Oak Hill or something just to go watch and travel around follow them around.
Yeah.
You could do that too.
Like, Simeon out of Chicago, I feel like I'd have more fun watching because you're watching probably some future NBA star in 3 years.
Bo, Luke?
What conference is Marquette in?
The East.
Dang it.
Ooh, I know mine. I'll go with Green Bay. Doug Gottlieb. See what's going on with him.
Oh,
Knew someone had to say that.
Choice. Actually, can I go UAB?
You can.
Okay, I'm gonna go with UAB. Andy Kennedy for life, baby.
I'll allow that one.
Coleman, what about you?
I would say St. Joe's out of Philly. I'm torn between St. Joe's, Dayton, love the A-10, San Francisco out west in the West Coast Conference. Get all those West Coast games. The Zags, St. Mary's, and then formerly BYU. That's a fun one. Or we go southeast, looking at College of Charleston. Get the CA.
Charleston would be fun. Fun
Charleston
place.
Majors.
Be a great time. Guess we're doing our basketball pod now. Yeah, actually, psyched. We're doing it. We're doing it this week.
Football. Ole Miss is done.
Season's over. Real quick, I do have to, while we're on hoops, Bo Ryan, former Wisconsin Badgers GOAT coach, was just inducted into the Naismith Hall of Fame. Long overdue. So big news on that front there. But Coleman.
Him and Vince Carter.
Mm-hmm.
Former Grizzly Vince Carter. Nothing else.
Yeah. Just had to throw it in there. Coleman, you were talking about LSU and Ole Miss there.
Oh, yeah, football. We're done. There's a strictly basketball-only podcast from now on.
Yeah, after the heartbreaking loss at LSU overtime, what are your guys' thoughts on the game? We'll start with Luke.
My thought on the game, it went incredibly long. That was my first thought. I think it went 4.5 hours, for almost 5 hours or something.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody needs to do that. I actually had a pretty fun day. So my mom was in town actually, and so we basically sat at Funky's from basically 2 until like basically end of the first quarter, and then we decided to go home and watch it. And thankfully we did that because we would have been there forever. Like the last 2 minutes of the first half went legitimately probably 30 minutes in real time. Like between all the reviewage and stoppages of, TV timeouts, falling players or faking it or whatever you want to call it and all that. But yeah, the game sucked. It's that's the game I felt like if we were gonna go 10-2, that was a game we were gonna lose to begin with. The other one would have been Georgia. I think the Kentucky loss, that one should be the one that we should look back and realize that was a tough loss. But that's kind of my initial thoughts, I guess.
Jake,
we clearly I was talking to a few people, and they aren't ball knowers. Even though Ole Miss was favored, they're going into Death Valley, like we said last week. Very tough place to play. I think, did we all take LSU when we were doing our picks, or close to everybody?
We can say we did now. Yeah, I think we did.
Yeah. But I don't think it was that surprising. It was just a heartbreak the way it happened once it got down late in the fourth quarter and LSU was coming back to tie things up. I was just shaking my head. I had a bad feeling about it. And I think you're right, Luke. That's one we needed to have. The Kentucky loss, I just don't think we have the schedule makeup to really break through and do much. And now I guess this kind of wakes up LSU for the playoff talks potentially. I mean, it's a big win for their season. So yeah, tough loss, but it's a wrap.
Two things. LSU's not in the playoff conversation. Yes, they've beaten us. They've lost to USC. And they have a tough schedule ahead. They have A&M. They have Alabama still left, I think, as their next 2 or 3 games. Oh, and they go on the road to Arkansas this upcoming week. That could be 3 losses right there. And then 1 loss and they're out of the playoff conversation. So, no, I don't think LSU's a playoff team. Everything that we said last week about going into Death Valley, playing clean football, did not happen.
Not at all.
Not at all. Ole Miss was the better team. Ole Miss outplayed LSU. Ole Miss should have scored 27 points minimum in the first half. Minimum should have had 17 in the first 8 minutes of the game. Ole Miss did everything they needed to do defensively to win that game. And the fact that you come away from that first half, really up 4, is pathetic. the 4th and 1 stop, the drop Trey Harris touchdown, the missed field goal, and then the fumble on your own 25-yard line to end the first half and give LSU another field goal. You did everything you needed to do to win, but you couldn't execute, and you made dumb plays. You go into a place like Death Valley on a Saturday night, and you have those opportunities and you don't take advantage, that's a recipe for a loss. It's a recipe for disaster. And the fact that they kept letting them hang in there, and they never had that death blow of a touchdown in the late 4th quarter. It was always a field goal. It was always something going on in the red zone. It was always a couple holding calls. It was always a defensive pass interference. The defense did what it needed to do outside of the last drive, but you played that game almost perfectly, but you couldn't execute, and that's why you've lost. And that's the difference between us and championship teams. I don't know how nice that was, but that's what
completely agree. Everybody, we're all on the same page. Offense looked terrible. Defense played very well. Like, defense bailed them out several times. And
Mississippi State is putting up more points per game in SEC play than we are.
No way.
They've played Texas. They've played Georgia. I don't know who else they've played. But
Florida.
We put up max 28 points in 3 games.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to have this prolific offense, and we put up max 28 points against LSU secondary is not supposed to be very good. Yes, Kentucky has a good defense, but you're at home. And then South Carolina putting up 27 on the road, which you could have had a lot more. But again, stupid mistakes, stupid penalties, costing your team points.
And not playing Bentley is one of the wildest things that's happened in college football. He's averaging 6.3 yards per carry.
It's a mystery. Yeah.
And he obviously had the breakaway 50-yard run at LSU. He's the only one that really had a huge whoa play from the running backs. It's just, why aren't we playing him more? He should have 70 to 80% of the snaps.
I think.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I think our running back. I think it all kind of, we could pinpoint 2 things. I think one, the offensive line is just horrid. It's holding here, holding there. And then Jackson Dart, specifically for this last game, he got sacked at least 5 times. It had to have been. I don't know the exact number, but just absurd. You can't have that happen. And then, this prolific offense, it's only prolific if we have Trey Harris as our wide receiver. And when he's out, it's kind of hard to win games with that because,
But on that point, the fact that our only offense is, hey, let's throw it deep to Trey Harris, or let's get Caden Lee involved in a couple different plays. Where's the creativity of this offense? It's not really there.
Right?
It's too simplistic. At least in my opinion, because I've watched Ole Miss football for so much. You know what we're going to do some of the times, even as a fan. You're like, all right, we just got a first down. It's no huddle. You know they're going to run a dive inside for inside zone, or if it's 4th and 1. It's it's either going to be a direct snap to the running back, or they're going to put in Pegues and just have him go 3.5 yards. It's if I know that as a fan, and this isn't my full-time job, look at that little, exactly. Give myself a little celebration. I have no clue how I just did that. But if I know that as a fan, how don't they know that? That's the full-time job, is scouting another team.
Yeah, you don't feel like they're dialing up and kind of setting some trap plays earlier on to hit that big one like they had in the past. And I don't know if that's Charlie Weiss or what's going on, but
or the use of Caden Prieskorn. I see no use of him, no check down balls, and the fact that they kept blitzing us and we kept giving up sacks on our offensive line. Hey, why not? A little quick slant or a quick little out route or a little dump off to either the running back or to the tight end. Where's the creativity or the thought process of how are we going to adapt to what they're doing defensively?
Wasn't there. Didn't show up.
And it hasn't been there.
Now, do you think that's more Kiffin or Weiss? I believe that's how you say his
Weiss.
Name. Weiss. Thank you. Weiss. Personally, I think it's way more Weiss, because if Kiffin were calling the plays, I feel like it'd be as creative as it was since he's been there.
I would agree. I would definitely think it's Charlie Weiss. Because you didn't have that with Jeff Levy. You had a prolific offense that could move up and down the field, first down after first down after first down.
Yeah. It felt like every time we got the ball with Levy, it was just oh yeah, we're gonna go score right here. This is set.
Maybe that's why they're outscoring us with worse players.
We could be hopeful because Georgia does seem flawed, and we'll definitely see it this week. I don't think they're going to come out very much alive. against a pretty good Texas team. Texas basically they're the boom of college football. They're not doom for sure. They look good. So maybe I don't know.
Yeah, Texas right now is cream of the crop of the SEC.
All around.
We want to touch. Go ahead, Jake.
No, I was just going to say too. You had quite the game in Oregon and Ohio State, and quite the battle coming down to the very last drive. You had the feeling that Ohio State and their wide receivers and how they typically are in games with 2 minutes to go, they get the ball back. There's way too much time, and there certainly was. But what a mishap by that quarterback, Will Howard, and I feel awful for him specifically because it's a terrible way to lose a game with time running out, not really knowing the clock sliding and just having it expire. Not clearly he just didn't have the awareness there. Heartbreaking loss for Ohio State, but I don't think anybody's too broken up about it, at least in this group.
I am actually.
Really?
I have Ohio State to win the Big Ten. I mean, mathematically, they're not out of it at all.
Mm-hmm.
I could easily see them matching back up again in Indy.
Mm-hmm.
But I was a little broken up. Yeah, it hurt.
I mean, I think at the beginning, like when we did our predictions, I think we did whoever wins the Big Ten, right? I think I chose Ohio State, but was I happy that they lost this weekend? Maybe. Did I like to see the good people of Ohio kind of, feel something? Same thing that I felt later in the evening, but I guess that's karma. But yeah, I certainly enjoyed the mishap at the end. And shout out to Dan Lanning coming out and saying that 12th man on the field's like that was like some 10,000 IQ play that he had planned before. Do you think that was true? I don't know. Maybe he did that and he's just like trying to make him seem smarter than he actually is. And he's got a good team, but I don't know. That seemed funny.
Yeah, I think. Well, they still have the potential to match back up in the Big Ten championship, right? Like that's
Absolutely.
still will work. I mean, that's all likelihood going to happen.
Absolutely. Well, Ohio State has to go on the road to Penn State. Penn State and USC, or Penn State and Oregon are at the top right now. So it's an uphill battle for Ohio State. It's not like, hey, we're going to definitely be back in Indy, and then have to go play Michigan. But Michigan's a shell of themselves. But still, it's Ohio State, Michigan. You never know what can happen.
Right. Rivalry games are always a toss-up.
Yeah, so Ohio State definitely gave themselves a little uphill battle.
I don't know. It's just kind of on brand for Ryan Day, I think. This just always happens, I feel like. They need to get Jim Tressel back.
Born on third base.
Yeah.
And now he's back on second. What? If you really think about it, though, this is Lanning's first in 2 years, his first really big win for Oregon. Because they lost to Washington both times last year. And the year before that, they could never get really over the hump.
Yeah.
So good for Lanning, good for the Oregon program, good for the good people of the Pacific Northwest.
Did you guys see the video going around? I didn't even know Matt Luke's the O-line coach at Clemson. Did you guys see this at all?
No.
I saw it.
It's pregame. Matt Luke, he's getting all the guys riled up with their blocking warm-ups, and so I think somebody said there's no better pregame warm-up site than watching Matt Luke get the troops riled up before the game. But I think it's definitely Ozempic Matt Luke. He looks like he's doing really really good there. It looks a lot healthier, but just couldn't believe he ended up there. I figured he was still on the Georgia staff.
He obviously didn't do that hot at Ole Miss when he was the head coach, given all the stuff going on. But I feel like he'd be a good locker room guy to have, like a great coach. He's very passionate. Like we always said, I mean, he wasn't the greatest recruiter, but he always had the fire to get people ready to play. But I mean, when you're playing Joe Burrow's LSU at home, it's like, all right, we're going to see how this goes. With Rich Rod as your OC. I mean,
yeah, stark contrast between him and Lane from what's happened there. Is there any other games that you guys watched that you guys want to hit on?
Colorado, Kansas State. We want to talk about that?
Yeah, go ahead, Bo.
I thought more so Deion's post-game interview was really good. He just said there's certain games you feel like you should win and taking nothing away from them. But he's like, that was one of those games that they should go celebrate. But there's definitely going to be a long time at film. It's going to be quiet looking at it because he's like, I think we just shot ourselves in the foot. So thought that I love Deion, big Deion fan, but just thought it was a very classy interview.
And I think with that loss, they're they're pretty much out of the playoff too. Is that right?
No.
Well,
the Big 12 is a complete crapshoot. America's college football conference, anything can happen.
Did you guys end up seeing when Kansas State's QB ran it in and scored? He did the Dion's dance, prime time, the two-step. That was cool. I was like, that's so disrespectful, but I mean, it's kind of funny. Great for entertainment.
Yeah. And is Hunter okay? Didn't he come out of the game a bit because he got injured?
He had a shoulder injury. I'll look up if he's hurt.
He's playing this week.
He's back. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Is he still? What's the Heisman odds at for him right now? Is it? Does anybody know the front runner?
I think it's. I'm looking it up right now. Give me one moment.
The Boise State running back.
Ashton Chanty, followed by Dylan Gabriel, Travis Hunter, Cam Ward, and Jalen Milroe. But the Boise State guy easily deserves it, in my opinion, or Hunter. Those are the two most athletic players.
Genty is putting up video game-like numbers.
I watched their late night game against when they played Hawaii this week. He rushed for like 26 carries for like 200 plus yards, and they were saying, yeah, this isn't one of his great games, and I'm like, holy shit,
dude, listen to this stat line.
And this is boys out there.
26 carries on the year, 1,200 yards, 17 touchdowns, 9.9 yards per carry. So basically a first down every time he touches the ball. There's also a fantastic meme going out there of how he stands in the backfield, being equivalent to Michael Myers, because he just stands straight up like this instead of his hands on his knees. And I don't know why, like, that weird thing just like that makes me like him even more. It's like, oh, this guy just, like, he's doing his own thing and still is probably the best running back in the country.
Yeah.
What year is he?
He is a junior.
Okay. So he'll probably...
Number one running back on the board, probably will be a top 10 pick.
Yeah, I think McShay was saying that he could go in that Saquon realm, the top 10 picks with how good he is. But I can't remember the last time we've seen a rusher have those kind of. I mean, he hit 1,000 yards. Was it last week? So after 5 games, that's unreal.
Yeah, he might. I think he's on pace to beat Barry Sanders' record for rushing yards in a season. I believe we're talking about that. Which is, when you're in the same conversation as Barry Sanders, you're doing something right at running backs.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I'm not feeling great about my Cam Ward pick anymore, but
he's still up there.
Yeah, he just scares you when you watch him.
Some of the decisions he made when they played Cal last week, buddy, what are we doing? Mm-hmm. But that's who he is. Yeah, and you have to like love him and respect him for that. That's like the kind of player he is.
Any other college takes before we shift to the NFL?
Good for Penn State, taking it to the West Coast teams of USC.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out Jen Franklin, winning a big game.
I think it's Alar is the QB's name for Penn State. Had 2 picks.
Aller.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. He had 2 picks in his career. I think before that he has only had 3 since being at Penn State, which is a crazy stat. Crazy stat at QB. But yeah, nuts that they even did all that and had the adversity to come back and win. The resilience.
Incredible. Yeah, it was quiet again after that Ole Miss loss. Otherwise, though, pretty good slate of games.
Yeah, this next week, big games too. Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, Texas. Those will be some fire games.
It just reminds you, no matter wins, losses, just cherish every single moment. Cherish every single Saturday. You get 12 of them a year. Remember to cherish those moments and not be upset. Yes, you can be upset in the moment, but don't let it last. Don't let it linger. Maybe you should watch the extra game, watch the late night game, and get you more excited for the upcoming week.
Watch some action or some Fun Belt, maybe.
Conference USA during the week.
Yeah, some CUSA.
Little Sun Belt.
What did you follow this similar advice after the like following the Orioles and then seeing them collapse?
Yeah, and that's what gives me really perspective of typically when the Ravens or Orioles lose in the playoffs, I refuse to watch. And then I had a heart-to-heart with myself, and I'm like, you know what? Why do you do this? Why do you just not watch? So I've been watching a good amount of playoff baseball, and it really puts into perspective of the seasonality of being a fan. Like, I lose, yeah, it's upsetting. Yeah, I'm excited for spring training. Yeah, I'm excited for the next season to come. But it really puts you in perspective of like, don't be upset. Just move on to the next thing. You know basketball's around the corner. Let's watch some playoff baseball. Maybe let's watch the Miracle Mets. Let's watch Padres Dodgers. Let's hate watch the Yankees and Royals. So you only have so many of these left in your life. Cherish them while you can.
Kind of sounds like Coleman's gone through like the 7 stages of grief.
No.
Yeah, you're right in the middle, man.
I was gonna ask,
I'm not in the middle. I went through it. I've deliberated with myself, and I've taken really a new outlook on sports, the seasonality of a fan, the seasonality of fandomness, and just what I watch and what I consume on a daily basis.
I was going to ask you what was the hourly rate of the therapist you hired, but I can see you just going through this yourself in the mirror just every night, just like sweating through it like you're coming out of withdrawals from the Orioles loss and coming out on the other side just a very peaceful sports fan.
All self-care. And with the Ole Miss loss too to LSU, I'm like, you know what? We only have so many Saturdays. And the fact that they played a tight game in Death Valley, I get to see LSU Tiger Stadium lit up like that, buzzing. They played I don't know if you guys stayed and watched like the post-game interviews and like Sean McDonough and Greg McElroy like saying things at the end. Did you guys?
Mm-hmm.
No, I turned off my TV in about 30 seconds after we lost that game.
That's what I used to do. And then I took a new outlook. And then they played the going away song when they stormed the field, which is another thing. I'd like to hit on this. I would like to hit on this. They played Louisiana Saturday night as they like cut out onto like the nightly news. And I'm thinking to myself that we lost. We did. And it's shame and disappointing. But how cool is that? To watch those fans celebrate to Louisiana Saturday night as they storm the field, and I get to hear Sean McDonough's voice as I go in towards next week and go into my Sunday of football watching. Like, just how cool is that?
I will say they probably have to have like I've never been to Death Valley, but their band has obviously been at Ole Miss. Their band is A1. I think they're one of the better bands in college football. They have Colin Baton Rouge that point in the game. They obviously have Neck. They have Louisiana Saturday Night. Dude, they just kind of got the fan experience in Death Valley has to be like electric. They had those like light up bracelets like it's a concert. Like, man, we need something like that.
Yeah, just like how cool is that experience that we get to witness that 12 Saturdays a year. And then you watch that game and you just deal with the fucking suck of it. And you move on to you got Kansas State, Colorado late night. And you had to watch that magnificent game of what that was. And then you know what? Once that's over, you have the second half of Boise State and Hawaii where you get to watch the Heisman Trophy front runner. You don't get many of these days a year. You only get 12. No, you get 14 because there's bye weeks. But you know what I mean?
It's very poetic. Very poetic.
You get 14. You got to cherish all of them. And then that bleeds into your Sunday watching. And that bleeds into Monday. But Jake, go ahead. And then I have a point on field storming.
No, I was just going to ask, how can we sign up for your community training sessions for this better outlook as a sports fan? What's going to be the?
I don't know. I've done a lot of soul searching, deep digging in myself, and I really think I've mellowed out.
Are you releasing a small pamphlet booklet that we can release?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll be at a crosswalk on Saturdays and Sunday mornings.
Signing
pamphlet saying it like, yeah.
Coming to a Barnes & Noble news.
Mm-hmm. I'll wear a suit too.
I feel like at like recovery places or like at AA, it's always led by a former addict. I feel like that's kind of like what it is, you know?
Yeah, but what actually gets me fucking irate after all this
Please, let's go.
What actually gets me is field storming. I understand that field, like it's fun for the fans, fun for the students, fun for the game. If you are a top fucking 15 team and you're playing another top 15 team, what the hell are you storming the field for? Have some pride in your program. LSU, you are a national championship caliber program year in, year out. You nationally recruit at the highest level. You have arguably the best in-game experience, fan experience. How in the hell are you storming the field against Ole Miss, Oregon? Yeah. How in the hell are you storming the field against Ohio State?
That's
You're
crazier.
favorite, for Christ's sake. Act like you've been there before.
Yeah, like the only one that has been of warrant in this past couple weeks, in my opinion, has been Vandy.
Yeah.
They've never stormed the field ever.
They have once. It was pathetic.
Okay, well, good. They shouldn't. They should be
a legitimate proper storming that they had against Alabama. These things should be warranted. They should not be for your yearly LSU Ole Miss game.
Yeah. The spread was only like 3 points, or like what was the?
And you're a national championship caliber program where you've won multiple national championships. It's not like, hey, we're coming out of the dark, deep depths of despair. You won 5 years ago. You had the Heisman Trophy winner last year. What the hell are you storming the field for?
Yeah,
I get it. It's good for the fans and the kids. Act like you've been there. Hold some fucking pride in your program.
I think it was warranted for Oregon.
Why?
Do you not think that's like the biggest win that they've had as a program, like home win? Number 2, Ohio State.
Number 3, Oregon, who's favored.
I'm with Coleman on this one.
Ohio State storms the field if they play Oregon at home?
No.
That's what. You think Michigan does? No. You think Alabama does? No.
I think Oregon does, though. First year in the Big Ten, Lanning's first huge win.
It's a huge win for Lanning and Oregon, obviously. I'm just on the side of Coleman where it's like, if you're going to storm the field, it better be something.
You've made national championships. You are a national championship contender year in, year out. You recruit at the highest level. You recruit nationally. You don't recruit regionally like Ole Miss does. You are a national recruiting powerhouse. And you're favored in your home stadium by not even by 3, what was it, 2.5, 3.5 points?
Yeah, like if it's a double digit, favorite, maybe like 30, maybe 25, maybe that's where the limit stops. And if you beat the, the favorite in that game, man, that's where it should be warranted. But
yeah, if Oregon, for example, is maybe they're 3-3, they had a couple down years, but you're expected. As a player, you go to Oregon, you're expected to be in these games. You're expected to win these games, especially at home. This is an expectation at these universities. This is not something, hey, we're lucky to be here. No. This is expected of you as you're a high schooler being recruited, or you're a kid in the transfer portal who wants to go to Oregon. Dylan Gabriel was recruited there to win these types of games. Something that they have not done in the past, but they've still been in them.
I just feel like it's such a huge inflection point for them of kind of breaking through some of that barrier that I think everybody thought was around them. But I hear you. It's 3 versus 2. It's not like it's unranked versus top tier team. So
you have a good point too, though. It's like it's a monumental step for their program to be like, we belong in the Big Ten, even though we're new, and we just beat who's whooped everybody else's ass for the last 10 years. So we're here to compete.
I wouldn't say Ohio State's whooped everyone's ass for the past 10 years.
Well, I mean, Ohio State and Michigan basically have run the table for about a decade.
How good? Well, to be fair, how good's the conference been?
Yeah, good point. Very good point.
It'd be a shame if it weren't one of those two, and then you throw in Penn State for a year.
Yeah. Penn State feels lucky with Saquon, and that's about it.
Ohio State actually has legitimate competition that now is not Michigan or Penn State that they play at the end of the year.
Yeah. Illinois.
No offense to Illinois, Nebraska, Iowa, programs like this, but they're second, third rate programs. What would they be in the SEC homer here? What would they be in the SEC?
I don't know. If you
third-rate programs.
If you listen to Danny Cannell, the SEC, maybe it's just not as tough as you think it is.
Danny Cannell's something. I don't like. I kind of like his shtick, to be honest with you, though. I'm not anti Danny Cannell. I kind of like it.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. I follow it. I actively, when a big SEC upset happens, I go right to Cannell's Twitter to see what's going on.
Who's his fan base of choice? He seems like a Notre Dame guy. Or
Florida State. He played quarterback there.
Yeah.
He was hot last year. Hot.
Yeah. I just love how he's calling everybody else frauds, and then you have FSU doing what they're doing this year. It's pretty great.
He's a little hurt.
I think he's a lot of hurt from last year. I don't think he's gotten over it yet.
Oh.
Shout out Danny Cannell. I like it. I like him though.
You think we can get him? He was just on with Russillo a little bit ago.
I don't think we have that kind of relationship.
We'll talk to these people.
We'll start reaching out.
Yeah, we'll get our booking person to reach out to his booking person.
You know who I still haven't heard back from? No response from Xavier Leggett yet. Yeah, no response yet. So still waiting to see.
I'd like to ask him some questions about what it's like to play in Carolina.
Yeah. Red Rocket.
Yeah, dude. Terrible.
We maybe that's a good segue into some NFL news. Unless Luke, did you have something there?
No, I mean the only way I was able to turn the page, and this is how we'll turn it the page to the NFL, is Flacco, dude. Flacco's he's still keeping still keeping the Colts alive. I think his tenure is coming to a close here,
which is a shame.
I know, and it sucks because that's how we've been winning games. Now, we'll see with Anthony Richardson coming back here this next week. We'll see how it fares, but got the W against Tennessee this past weekend, and the Colts, they're still playing for middle of the pack for 15th spot in the NFL draft. So we'll see. That's all. That's all I have to say.
I think when he ripped off that 37-yard run, I think it was 2 weeks ago. I think he was just kind of showing the organization, like, I can be your Anthony Richardson.
Dude.
Yeah.
He slides too. How cool is that?
Yeah.
He's not going to get hurt.
Made a mistake by not playing Joe.
Speaking of quarterbacks, this is one of the best comparisons I've heard in a while here. Russillo compared Dak to Jay Cutler. Like, will we look back on him just, we're kind of thinking he's this pretty decent quarterback, better than average, but then there's some really wild throws. There's some interesting offensive lines that he had to sit behind through those years. Do we see them kind of in the same light? I'd never thought of that before, but it's not a terrible comparison. The Cowboys too, just looking awful.
Right.
Awful.
Is Dak dating anyone?
I'll look it up. I got you. Give me a second.
Please do.
I think to answer your question there, Jake, I think it has to be more, honestly, than a Jay Cutler character. And the only reason is because he's on the Cowboys. If he was on the Bears or some Bears adjacent team, then it would be, very similar. He's obviously getting paid like a gazillion dollars, and he probably couldn't be faster to sign that check or that contract rather. But yeah, man, it's probably not just Dak. It definitely is multiple things, but also Jerry Jones just being the way he is and all the stuff he's been talking about and how he's like, oh, I didn't see this coming. I'm like, dude, your team's been this way for the last decade, dude. Like, come on, have some self-awareness.
Update: Sarah Jane Ramos is his girlfriend, just so you know. Apparently
no,
she's on
he's not like Jay Cutler. I don't know her. I know who Kristen Cavallari is, so no.
That's
end
awesome.
of discussion. End of discussion.
Wrapped.
Move on. Never still didn't think of that.
Moving on from Dak, we did have 2 huge trades go down today at the day that we are recording here. We have Davante Adams escaping that hellish organization of the Las Vegas Raiders, getting away from Antonio Pierce, making some business decisions, and appearing on Rodgers' live stream with McAfee. I don't know if you guys saw that. I thought that was pretty awesome when he just shifts the camera and he's right there. Already got his physical done. And clearly for Davante reuniting with Rodgers, who Bo and I might be a little biased, but I think maybe one of the best QB wide receiver duos we've ever seen as Packer fans too. So he's got to be pumped getting away from Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. And some people are saying this hurts Garrett Wilson. I'll take it a step further. Allen Lazard's been much more impressive stat-wise, and Lazard's kind of back like he's in Green Bay, taking the back seat to Davante. So he's going to be taking a little bit of an ego hit, but watch out, Jets, for him coming back. And I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on him before we jump to the other Bills trade.
Everybody dogs on Lazard, but he's actually like a solid wide receiver 3 now for them. Obviously, Wilson's fantastic. Now Davante and Aaron can pick up right where they left off. Obviously, he's probably wanted to be with him since all the Green Bay stuff, looking back. But I'm happy to see them together. I kind of hope the Jets go on a tear now and just win a ton of football games. I feel like that'd be really, really cool for their story. So I'm pulling for the Jets.
Do you think, playing devil's advocate here, because the Jets looked awful last night. They should have won the game, but they looked awful. Do you think they reconnect just like that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
I don't know. I was going to ask something similar. Like, is this actually going to help them win games? Like, they fired their coach, and that seemingly didn't do anything. Not saying that should be an immediate change or anything like that, but I don't know. I feel like I feel like Rodgers is and he'll definitely deny this, but I feel like Rodgers is playing almost like a LeBron GM role. Almost like think about it. Like he's got all these former Packers. He's got what's it the offensive coordinator I think was a former Packer as
Hackett.
well. Like
Hackett.
it's really Packers in New York. So
But before you know it, Luke, they'll have Randall Cobb and James Jones suiting back up. Maybe Greg Jennings out of retirement. I mean,
Jordy Nelson.
yeah, we're not that far away. And I think, yeah, Jets lost last night to the Bills. You look at Greg Zuerlein. I don't think if he tried, he could hit the post 2 times in a row like he did on those misses. Those were really bad. But as soon as you saw that interception when he was throwing it to Mike Williams and ended up getting picked off, and I think he even said it today on his interview, he was in the wrong spot and everybody should be held to a very high standard. Rodgers really has to build that rapport and trust. And I guess like all quarterbacks, but Rodgers has notoriously been known where if you don't build that up, you are kind of dead to him. And I don't think you're wrong. I think it is kind of that GM role where he's getting his guys. Davante's going to come in there, and good luck trying to defend Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson on the, same field. You can only double one of them, so I think it'll open up quite a bit for them. Awesome. Then we have Amari Cooper escaping probably a worse situation with the Browns, going to the Bills. I don't think anybody saw that coming, and finally getting with Josh Allen. Huge upgrade after looking at some of the advanced metrics for Deshaun Watson. It's just scary how bad it is. Him and Gardner Minshew are kind of in a lot of the same categories of all those advanced metrics and bottom of the league. But Cooper going to the Bills, I know some people are skeptical with his age. I think this is a huge upgrade for them. When you look at the Bills receiving core right now, you have Keon Coleman, the rookie, you have Kincaid, Dawson Knox is still there from Ole Miss. But then you kind of have this mix of Curtis Samuel, Khalil Shakir. And I think, again, learning the playbook might take some time, but I think this will really help open up their offense and give them another weapon. Just with Allen's arm talent, Cooper's probably the best receiver he's had since Diggs has left. So could make for some very interesting passing game plans going forward here.
It's good that they actually have a wide receiver 1 now and a vet who can coach, especially Keon Coleman. I feel like he definitely needs to learn under somebody. Mm-hmm. But Cooper, I wouldn't be surprised if he kind of starts to break out and everybody's like, whoa, look at him now. Because he played, for the Browns, they're not really doing him any favors. And obviously Watson's been horrendous. And the fact Famous Jameis isn't on the football field right now for the Browns is nuts. Just putting that one out there too. So shout out Famous Jameis.
Yeah, do you think we see Jameis, or do you think this is from the GM down that they're sticking with Watson because of all the money that's behind him?
GM down.
Down.
It's a cult situation.
Yeah.
With so much invested in AR, but Joe Flacco's just sitting right there,
mm-hmm.
throwing dimes, getting first downs.
It is interesting now in the NFL because there's kind of 2 ways you can build your team, where you go all in on the QB. I don't know how we got balloons, but now we got balloons here. But you go all in on the QB like Josh Allen, or I don't know how we got balloons. That's pretty cool though. Or you could do it the other way around, where you get all these skill position guys and do what the Niners do, where they have a ton of talent. And if you put Brock Purdy on the Raiders team, I don't think they get any better or worse. I think Purdy's just a really good game manager. And with Shanahan, he's obviously probably making him look even better than where he started, just because of how good of a play caller he is. It's interesting just to see the teams that have done that, where you either go all in on the QB or all in on skill players and try to get a decent QB and make it happen.
Yeah, really does come down to the exact systems too and fits that they end up falling into. I think you're absolutely right. And Nick Chubb's got to be pretty pissed. He's going to be making his return this next week, and I have a feeling they're going to see a lot of 8-man boxes, and he's not going to be getting a lot of room to run with how bad Watson's been passing wise. So 2 notable trades. I think good news for our former boy, Elijah Moore. he'll be getting some more looks in Cleveland. But Amari Cooper and Davante Adams have been freed, so hopefully they go ball out.
Mm-hmm.
Any other games or news there NFL-wise, guys, you want to hit on before we get to the picks?
Another Vens victory.
Do they have the best offense?
Do they have the best team?
That too.
How about the Packers' dominant performance in Green Bay? How about that?
Yeah.
Beat the Cardinals.
Dobbs comes back and says, hold my beer to Dontavian Wicks. Balls out. Do the Ravens have the best offense? They might. They might.
Yeah, they might. I mean, I don't know. Having the quarterback that they do, Lamar, and then, Derrick Henry, dude, great combo.
Do we think Henry holds up throughout, to the rest of the season and playoffs, or do you think this slow deterioration? You think he's going to be all right?
He's a stud. Dude, he's done it for a decade. He's the one running back that can carry the load like that and expect to be okay. He did it at Bama, and he did all those carries in college. He's gone to the pros and basically hasn't missed a step. So he takes care of his body really well. I think he's going to be fine. And with the threat of Lamar running, when you have two people who can run like that, I feel like that also takes a little pressure off of him just because it keeps the defense honest.
Also, the change of scenery helps.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not like he knows they can make a deep playoff run. It's not like you got Tannehill or Levis back as your quarterback, or you go as far as I'm going to take you, kind of thing.
Sad for old Hutchinson.
Oh,
that was disgusting. But the Lions still kick so much butt, dude. The Cowboys, they're the Cowboys, so we can shift that away. But man, they're the real deal, man. I love that for old Dan Campbell, man.
Yeah, they disrespected the Cowboys so much. They had offensive linemen running routes. I think they had Skipper, one of their O linemen, running a slant, and throwing it to some of the big boys. Didn't they do a hook and ladder to Sewell, their tackle, which was awesome? That's disrespectful. And Hutchinson, his leg breaking reminded me of Anderson Silva in the UFC. I don't know if you remember that. He threw that kick and broke it on the other guy's shin. So it's awful. I think they rushed him to immediate surgery in Dallas. But Campbell came out today, and he's very positive, as you would expect, where it's, hey, we have the group of guys, next man up, and we like we have in the room, so we'll just kind of continue marching on. But yeah, Lions have been outstanding.
Yeah, great team. Let's see a Lions Ravens Super Bowl. How crazy would that be?
Be awesome.
Lions are one of those teams, even though they're in the NFC North, and I'm a huge Packers fan. If they were to go and win it, it's kind of cool. I feel like everybody deep down would be like, yeah, it's cool. Except obviously, Coleman, if they beat the Ravens, you might be a little upset. But
no, I can't believe, as someone who's a fan of the NFC North, you would publicly root for an additional NFC North team to win the title. The fuck would I ever root for Cincinnati to win the title for? Pittsburgh, massage, jerk off, Deshaun Watson, Cleveland Browns. No.
That's what this team means. They're the real America's team. They just took the title from the Cowboys, okay?
Detroit's the new America team. That's what it is.
Detroit was in the low of lows, though. Who do you think had it worse? Do you think Detroit in their awful period, or Cleveland like the past decade and a half or so?
Cleveland, easily.
Cleveland, yeah, easily.
The Manziel boom bust before it really even took off was one of the craziest things that's ever happened in sports. Mm-hmm. And then followed by the long list of QBs that have never panned out in Cleveland. The jerseys. Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm thinking about right now, is that one jersey that's just got masking tape. That's just, they need a whole nother jersey. Or they need to put some pants on that mannequin just so they could make it go all the way down the leg.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get Detroit went 0-16 in that stretch. But they did make the playoffs, I think, at least once or twice within that stretch, too. They had a few Stafford years. And they made the NFC Championship last year.
One of the best wide receivers to do it, too.
Yeah. And Cleveland, my God. What's the farthest they've gotten? The divisional round a couple years ago. And before that, who knows?
Very true. Very true.
Baker was feeling dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Baker, that's a guy I'm happy everything's kind of panning out for.
Yeah.
Tampa. happy for him. But yeah, Coleman, to respond to your thing, obviously I'm pulling for Green Bay. I'm just saying, like, if Green Bay got eliminated and Detroit won, I'd be like, all right, cool.
Same. It wouldn't be like the Vikings or Bears, right?
Yeah,
Right.
that's what I was going to say. If it was the Bears and Vikings, would it
I
still
had much more of a problem. It was either one of those two. But the Lions have been getting whooped up on for a long periods of time. So if like they got a shot to win, I'd be like, all right, this is kind of cool. This is different. Put it that way.
All right. Coleman, when you reach this side of the sports enlightenment, you start cheering for other teams within the division, depending on how bad they've been.
No, I'm not going as far as like cheering. It's now just like I'm watching.
We need a side by side of you should enjoy these moments. You only get so many weeks out of the year too. Why the fuck would you cheer for another team that's not your team? That's what we need side by side.
I did like that segue of everything's so great and you have to enjoy these things. You know what upsets me though? Storming the field. That's the one thing you haven't come around on yet. You love.
No, I think they're completely separate conversations.
I think so too.
Hey, you know what I'll say? You only get to see the field storm so many times.
No, you don't. No, actually, you don't get to see the fucking field storm so many times because everyone does it. Oh, and then wait from November till March. Everyone does it in college basketball. You get at least 4 of them a fucking Saturday.
How many years away are we from Ole Miss storming the field after beating Vandy, ranked Vandy?
Dude, they might win. They might beat Oklahoma in 2 weeks, and they might storm the field because it's just like, okay, we got to win. Like, I know this is such like people are like, oh, the field storming such boomer conversation or whatever. No, dude, you shouldn't. I mean, not to keep bringing this up, but dang, why are we storming the field?
Are we just old? Is that it? Or maybe we're out of touch.
Yeah, maybe we're the problem.
We're slowly wrapping here, guys. I want to get our picks in before we have to jump. I'm going to pull up 3 NFL games. Coleman, as I'm doing that, if you want to pick 3 college games, feel free to browse through those. But looking at this week's games, I think one interesting one we have on the books here is an NFC North matchup. The Detroit Lions at the Minnesota Vikings. And the line on this, the Vikings are 2-point favorites here. Who does everybody got?
Who's home and away, please?
Detroit's at Minnesota.
Okay.
Hammer the Lions. Hammer them.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Lions, too. My man, Dan Campbell.
I'll take Minnesota.
Minnesota. I also like Minnesota here, even after Aaron Jones being injured. And yes, absolutely, I like the Vikings. So we're split 2-2. Let me actually keep track of this so we can post this, because otherwise we've just not been keeping track.
I could get an Excel spreadsheet going for somebody next time. Just shoot me the list.
Another big game. Texans at the Green Bay Packers here. Packers are 3-point favorites. What are we thinking?
Go Pack, go.
Packers at home.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it consistent here with the home team.
Yep, home team. I also will slam the Packers. And admittedly, yeah, it's a homer pick, so no shame in that. The other game we have, I don't think we want to choose between Carolina and Washington, so we'll skip that one.
We needed one garbage game.
Yeah, that's ugly. That's what that is. Okay, we have Chiefs at 49ers. 49ers. So
who's calling the game? What network?
What network?
What kind of question is that?
Big difference.
I don't know.
Romo or do we get Brady?
How do we not know? How do we not know?
Unlike Coleman, I'm just going to pick the Chiefs. Yeah, that's who I'm going with.
I'm going to choose the 49ers. I saw Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce were at the Indians playoff game. I think that was
Guardians. How could you?
Uh-oh. Excuse me. Forgive me.
Whoa.
Okay. I feel like
they're no longer.
Oh my God. Hey,
when did they
sue me?
When did they become the Guardians? How long has that been in effect? I thought they were still the Indians.
Like the last 5. Yeah, actually, it was.
Cancel this podcast. We're done.
Yeah. Sorry.
When did they become the Guardians?
We're throwing out the Indians. Soon enough, we'll be saying Redskins. It's just going down.
I didn't know the Rams were still in St. Louis, where it moved to LA from St. Louis.
Groundbreaking news. The Raiders are still in Oakland. Yeah, right.
Should we try to get one of the Native American tribes on that are actually supporting the comeback of the Redskins and get their take on it?
Absolutely do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Open invite.
That might be a market. That might be a market we can crack into. I'm going to write that down.
Awareness. It's for awareness.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Coleman, it's on Fox, just so you know.
I'm going to take the Niners, home network.
Okay. Luke, who did you take? You took the...
I took the 49ers because of my way with Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce at the playoff game.
Love it.
Chiefs.
I think with all the freaking injuries that the Chiefs have had, I am also going to go 49ers with them at home. Is anybody else surprised this is almost a toss-up with it being only 1-point favorites here? I'd actually do like an alt line of, I don't know, 4.5, 5 for the Niners.
Who's home again?
Niners are home.
Okay, Niners are at home. Okay, cool, sweet. I took the home. I don't know. I feel like it is kind of a surprise, but yeah, the line, it should be more, like at least 5.
I think the Chiefs went outright, straight up. I really do. So
we'll see. We're split on that one. I'll post these later and maybe start keeping track of them so we can do a weekly update there. But over to college, Coleman, what do you got?
We have 4 games we're choosing from because I can't just limit myself to 3. Naturally, the biggest game of the day, Georgia at Texas here in Austin. Texas is a 3.5-point favorite according to ESPN Bet.
Texas.
Yeah.
Texas.
Hammer the horns.
All right. All 4 for the horns. Second game, arguably the second biggest game of the day. Number 7 Alabama at number 11 Tennessee, and Alabama's a 3-point favorite going into Neyland after 2 piss-poor performances from both teams.
I'm going with Tennessee. Rocky Top, baby.
UT. Yeah, I'll take UT.
I'm going to go Roll Tide. We're going Bama and Jalen Milroe.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Tide as well. Tennessee's looked horrendous on offense. But if there's a game to do it, get back on track since it's against this Alabama secondary. I don't know. I just think Alabama has more experience playing in these big games already than Tennessee does. So I'm going to go with the Tide. Now, the final 2 games, because I'm diverse and I'm not a Big Ten SEC homer.
That's how I describe you, Coleman. I like that. That's a good descriptor of you. I agree.
Thank you. And we root for all games and all teams. We're going to go Miami at Louisville. And Miami a 4.5-point favorite, and they travel to the Ville to take on Tyler Shu, however you pronounce his name.
I don't know how you say it.
And the Cardinals.
Taking the U.
I'll take the Cardinals.
Yeah, I am also going to go Louisville here.
Coleman, who are you taking?
I'm going to take Miami solely for the fact that they're coming off a bye week, and they've prepared for this game. I believe they've come off a bye week. Let me confirm. And I'm confirmed correctly. They're coming in off the bye week. And I like Louisville, but they really showed their true colors when they lost to SMU 2 weeks ago to really give up like 3rd place in the ACC. So I think Miami wins it. I think it's close. I think it's probably like a touchdown, 6-point game, but I think Miami covers and wins outright. The final game is one near and dear to my heart, the big noon kickoff game, which topic for a conversation as well. Nebraska at Coach Sig's Indiana Hoosiers. Indiana is a 6.5-point favorite, and they have yet to trail this whole season.
Indiana.
But it's the first time that they're playing a half-decent team, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Indiana.
Indiana for sure.
Indiana's at home, Coleman?
Yep.
Yeah. I'm going to go Indiana.
I'm going to take the Cornhuskers. I'm going to take Indiana to win, Nebraska to cover.
Oh.
Dang, am I gonna
What's
have
the line? What's the line there? Remind me.
6.5.
6.5. That is a lot of points. I'm going to still stick with Indiana, but I don't hate your pick at all. I could absolutely see that being at a very close Big Ten slug out.
I think I'm slowly creating Luke's home field advantage parlay. I've chosen all of these.
I have these actually recorded. I can actually post these, tweet these, so we can actually keep a running tally.
One last thing I want to get into before we end the podcast is Big Noon Kickoff. Has it gone downhill since the Big Ten has expanded their media rights deal with NBC and CBS? I mean, I don't remember the last time. I mean, Texas and Michigan this year, but outside of that, the Big Noon they haven't really been anywhere.
I've paid zero attention to Big Noon. I'll say that.
Yeah, with you on that one, Jake. No clue.
I've been tuning in. I really like Saban.
Great.
I like McAfee.
Really thought-provoking.
No, what I'll say is I think you do have something with the NBC rights and Fox. You know what I mean? Because what was it, the Oregon Ohio State game
NBC.
on
Penn State,
NBC?
USC.
Exactly.
CBS.
Yeah. Like all those games, it's like the NBC game kind of threw me off with old Gary Daniel or not Gary Daniels. What's his
Noah
Todd
Eagle.
Blackledge and the other guy
Noah
that
Eagle.
they had calling that game. I was like, this feels a little odd. So that already threw me off. So I have a lot of issues with all these TV rights with the Big Ten. Like I'm so glad the SEC is basically all on ESPN and ABC, like basically a Disney product. Like I'm so glad there's some continuity there. But I don't know. There is something to that, I would say, Coleman.
Does Big
Yeah, you
Noon?
have Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt calling Arizona at BYU this week.
Joel Klatt.
Yeah, glad we got a lot of thought from our Big Ten audience up north in Wisconsin.
Hey,
Great.
They still have Urban Meyer around.
Yeah,
they do got all herbs.
Hey, Gus Johnson.
Hey, it can't fall off then. It can't fall off.
I didn't know the Rams were moved to LA. I
Have
thought
you-
the Orioles were still in the St. Louis Browns of the 1920s. Great.
I mean, I just learned about the
riveting
Guardians.
conversation from these people who call themselves Big Ten fans, Luke.
I know. Shame on these guys.
Shame on them.
You can't be upset with me. I pay attention to the games, not what happens outside the field or the court.
If it's not Badger football and basketball, then
Do you want to know how out of touch I was with Coleman? Sent me a text earlier today. I read it as Memphis game. I thought Sharp was somehow commentating or at a Memphis game. I was like, oh, that's really cool. It was not that. It was UNC Memphis is what it was supposed to be read. So
shout out Unk. We should get Unk and Ocho on the pod. That'd be so cool. Shout out Unk.
Yeah, honest to God, let's just bring back the Oakland A's at that point.
Hey, Tom Brady approved as minority owner.
Yeah,
Raiders.
Shout out
Tom. Belichick's been doing great on all of his appearances. Hey, real quick, Manning cast. People are split on this. Do you like Manning cast or not for Monday nights? I love it. That's what I choose when I watch.
If I don't have a vested interest in the game, I'll listen to it.
yeah. I think that's kind of how I feel too.
Mm-hmm. It's fun. Good entertainment on top of football.
Yeah, Eli and Peyton are just gold together. Comedic gold. They're great. And they give all the inside baseball quarterback insights that I think everybody wishes Tom Brady was sharp enough to be giving on his broadcast there. I think that's it, guys. Anything else before we wrap here? No. Another episode down. Can you guys believe it? 17. We're approaching 20. And next week, put it on your calendars. We're doing a full NBA preseason breakdown, giving you our thoughts on what's to come. And I think the week after that, we'll likely do a full college basketball.
Yeah, we'll do a Big Ten college basketball breakdown so you guys can talk Big Ten basketball, even though we're only going to talk Badgers and Maryland. We won't talk any of the other Big Ten teams because in your eyes, they're not important.
Hey, I'm ready for Duke basketball. That's what I'm
We'll also talk the ACC.
Thank you.
You don't want to talk St.
Golden
Mary's?
Triangle.
Do a little snapshot. Ole Miss 24 in the AP preseason basketball poll. Thought that was kind of nuts.
Yep.
Thought that was kind of nuts.
We'll talk Ole Miss. We'll talk Wake. We'll talk NC State. We'll talk the entire Golden Triangle. It's going to be a wonderful time talking ACC basketball.
Maybe talk about Duquesne. See how they're looking this year.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. We might have two guests that might be making an appearance for a little college basketball breakdown. We'll float that by them. I'll talk with the rest of the crew, but that could be interesting. They're nerds. They're looking at Ken Palm. They're looking at a lot of deep things. So they could have some interesting insights there.
Yeah. Ken Palm's one of the best things to use for March Madness.
Yeah. I stare at it for hours on end every year. Does nothing. I suck, but I agree.
But that's not important. We have the NBA next week.
Come back for all the good stuff, all the Grizzlies stuff.
Yeah. We'll be talking about our thoughts on gun rights and John Morant. It'll be great. You'll love it.
Yep. Support your Second Amendment.
Love it.
That's gonna get us taken down. So
Not at all. Not at all.
Early voting's already started. Go out and vote.
Yep. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
We put our feelers out to both campaigns. They both declined to come on here so far. So we won't be hearing from them, but that's okay. Well, with that, I think it's time to wrap. Thank you very much for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, and share. And stick around next week for our full NBA breakdown.
Yep. Goodbye.